the idea that the universe is holographic. What is meant by the idea that the universe not necessarily is a hologram, but the idea of a holographic universe? We need to take this premise seriously because we only ever have a visual representation of the universe, which is one of the ways that we derive some certainty by way of our sense precept. It is one avenue of our sense precept that develops certainty of the world. But it isn't certainly the full story of the world, nor is it even the true fundamental condition of the world itself. If I just say that the world is the way it is because I see it the way it is, or how the world appears is truly the way it is, then we can say, well, that's just a limited perspective. There's clearly something deeper beyond your perception. And how do we see the universe? We wear glasses and we try to enhance our vision in order to see the universe better. But we're not really seeing anything better at all. We're just enhancing the light, the texture, and the grain of how the world appears to our visual sense precept. But the sense visual precept is always inherently only one limited avenue of seeing the world. No matter how well you see, no matter how much you can enhance your vision, how the world is seen, how you see the world with your eyes, or rather your eyes as a rational organ, is not the final place where the world is processed to exhibit itself the way that it is. It is actually the initial avenue in which the world enters through the sense organ and into the brain. And in the brain it is constructed. The brain or the mind uses the information, whether it's light wavelengths, to construct a sense, to make sense of the forms picked out by the eye. And so the eye is not the final place that the world ends up in. The eye is the avenue through which the world enters and ends up finally in the brain, exhibited in a certain way. And so you don't really see with your eyes. You ultimately see with your mind. We tried to locate that region of the brain where you can see, we say the third eye, or the pineal gland. It's an interesting region in the brain. Its function isn't fully understood. The pineal gland relates to sleep and ultimately produces hormones, including melatonin, which plays an essential part in regulating sleep pattern. Or ultimately, it is melatonin is it's the chemical used during sleep, endorphin. And what's happening in your brain is that there is a series of instantaneous point flashes of images concurring in your mind, coming in and out of being, blinking, and you're unconscious of these visual stimulations. You have a vague image of a picture of a dog, or and you just ignore it, and then another image pops out, and these images always naturally concur together and form some kind of narrative in your mind that you just say, oh no, that's never gonna happen, or you daydream about it, or oh, I wish that happens. Like, for example, if you're riding your bike and as you're riding it, there's this whole story in your mind that, oh my God, you're just gonna crash and you're gonna break, and you're gonna break your body, and this unconscious series of visual stimulus form a chain of a story and a narrative, and it almost influences your actions in the present moment. Sometimes you look away and then oh my God, you pay attention right in front of you. Oh, that was a close call. I almost fell, just like my thoughts. And then your thoughts keep playing, and you're like, just stops. Like that's I don't want that to happen, so you ignore it, and you hopefully determine some other series of images forming a chain, interlocking a story. And so this is constantly happening in your mind. These visual stimuluses, these images that you're not directly seeing when you observe an object and therefore derive the image of that object into your brain, but rather you have an intuition about them. We call it an apperception. You see, a perception in the mind, purely in the mind and not outside of the mind. As what happens when you see photons from a distant external object exhibiting itself in the form of a field of vision or an image or the actual perception of an object.